Okay, this lesson is on subtracting rational numbers. If you know how to add rational numbers, you'll be just fine. Okay, first rational number that we're going to talk about are fractions. If you can add fractions, you can also subtract. Step 1, the same as adding. You're going to change any mixed numbers into improper fractions. Step 2, you're going to have to rename the fractions with a common denominator if it is necessary. You can use the least common denominator to help you do this. Step 3, you're then going to subtract the numerators. The denominator will stay the same. Now, that is the same as adding. The numerators are what you're going to be doing the operation with. So in this case, we're going to subtract because we're subtracting fractions. The denominator will always stay the same. Now, just like with integers, if you cannot subtract the problem, you can change it if necessary to make an addition problem, which will be easier. And then step 4, you're going to simplify. Example number 1. First thing we need to do is we need to change any mixed numbers into improper fractions. To do that, we need to multiply, then add. So 2 times 4 is 8, and then 8 plus 1 is 9. That'll be 9, and we keep our denominator of 2. Bring down the rest of the problem. Now they both look like fractions. Now we're going to have to rewrite the problem using the LCD. We do not have common denominators, so we have to make it that way. Bring them over to the side and line them up so we can see them clearly. Now, for here, we can use our shortcut rule to figure out if we can find a common denominator. And that shortcut is, will the smaller number go into the bigger number? So will 2 go into 4? Yes, it will. And in that case, we can use 4 as our common denominator. So whenever we bring up our 4 here, we say, okay, how do we get from 2 to 4? 2 times 2 is 4, and then 9 times 2 is 18. These are equivalent fractions. They're not the same, but they have the same value. And then we can just bring 1/4 over because it already has a denominator of 4. Now we're ready to go. Our denominators are the same. Just like with adding, we're going to do the operation with the numerators, the top number. So we're going to subtract in this case, and we are able to do that. We do not need to keep change. 18 minus 1 is 17, and our denominator will stay the same. You may choose to change it into a mixed number if you would like. Alright, now we have a negative 4 1/7 minus a negative 6/7. In this case, we do have common denominators, but if you check it out, it's not as easy to subtract this time. So let's start with our steps. First thing we have to do is change mixed numbers into improper fractions. So we're going to multiply, then add. 7 times 4 is 28, and then 28 plus 1 is 29. And don't forget to keep that negative. Your mixed number is negative, so the improper fraction will be negative, of course. Then we're going to bring down, but before we bring down, we need to look. Can we do this subtraction here? And this is where we're going to keep change. So we're going to keep the negative 29 over 7. We are going to change the minus to a plus, and then change the negative 6/7 to a positive 6/7. And this is where we have cleaned things up. Now, it is an addition problem, just like we did earlier. We changed it so now it's easier to do. Whenever we add our numerators, we are going to actually subtract here because we have a negative and a positive. If you do not remember the integer rules, you need to go back and review the integer videos. So negative 29 plus 6 will give us a negative 23, and we keep our denominator of 7. And we can choose to also move our negative just to where it is with the whole problem. Remember, the negative can be with the top number, it can be with the bottom number, or it can be in front of the problem. you can only have one negative. You could also choose to make it an improper fraction. When subtracting decimals, just like adding, you must line up the decimals. So looking at example number 3, we have a negative 8.4 minus 6.7. If you notice, this is not a problem that's just really easy to subtract, so you're going to keep change. We kept our negative 8.4, changed our minus to a plus, and changed the positive 6.7 to a negative 6.7. We're also now going to line our decimals up. If you notice here, we have the same signs. We have a negative plus a negative, and once again, these rules that apply to integers apply to decimals and fractions as well. So same signs, we're going to add and we're going to keep our sign. So 4 plus 7 is 11, 1 plus 8 is 9, and 9 plus 6 is 15. Make sure that when you're adding and subtracting decimals, you bring your decimals down because you lined them up. And here we're going to add and keep our negative sign. And there's our answer. Try these on your own. See what you can do.